And that goes on from 133 straight through until now I'm going to go to my expanded timeline, straight to 59 BC, when three guys put a stop to the bickering. And those three guys who put a stop to the bickering are Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey. And this is known as the Second Triumvirate. Right? The First Triumvirate, sorry. And I put it in quotation marks because triumvirate is usually an official commission that the Senate appoints. So the Senate will appoint a commission of 3, a triumvirate, to do a certain task, or a commission of 10 to do a certain task. This is nothing of the sort. This is a backroom deal because of, as I said, all the fighting that had been going on between the two factions. These three guys are tired of it and they say, no way. And they park Pompey's army in the parking lot of the Senate and go into the Senate and say, hi, dear senators. Please do what we ask. By the way, Pompey's army is in the parking lot. And they say, okay, that's what it is. In other words, nothing has changed constitutionally. It's just that Pompey's army is parked in the parking lot, and the senators are forced to do what these three guys say. So now, let's see. What they ask is each one wants an army. Because in this period of Roman history, because of all the fighting that had been going on, in this period, to have real political power, you need an army. A battle-seasoned army. So Caesar says, give me an army, I'm going to Gaul. It works out awesome for him. He kills a lot of Gauls. Pompey says, give me an army, I'm going to Macedonia. Works out pretty good for him too. Crassus says, give me an army, I'm going to Parthia, the former Persian Empire. Not a good idea. So the triumvirate is then 2 people instead of 3. An alliance of 2 people is not as durable as an alliance of 3 people. So in the meanwhile, almost for the next 10 years, Caesar is having a great time in Gaul, killing lots of people. And his enemies in the Senate are very scared, and probably for good reason. So he's very ambitious, and he's now at the head of a very he's an excellent general. He proves himself an outstandingly good general. So his enemies are quaking in their boots. They woo Pompey to their side. The senators, the faction that opposed Caesar, they woo Pompey to their side, and Pompey, the Senate passes a law that says, 49 BC, that says Caesar must lay down his army. That's what the law says. Caesar must lay down his army. Well, it probably wouldn't have went so well for Caesar if he laid down his army. So instead of laying down his army, he marches his army from Gallia. He marches his army onto Rome. And as he's marching down Italy, he's meeting these Roman armies that are commanded by these fat aristocratic Romans, and he wipes the floor with them. And he lands in Rome and says, make me dictator. To the Senate. Well, his army is there. It's 2 choices, make him dictator or die. So they opt for make him dictator. Dictator, you may remember, is a constitutional office. Dictatorship of Caesar. It's a constitutional office, but it's supposed to be in an emergency. In an emergency, the Senate appoints a dictator. So say there's a war, a really bad war, and things are not going well. They don't want 2 consuls in charge, they want 1 dictator. And it's for a period of time, usually 6 months. So the emergency here is that you fat aristocrats just told me to get out of town. And I didn't like that so much. That's the emergency. And so instead he has them appoint him dictator. I don't remember the terms, first for 2 years maybe, and then for life. So in everything but name, he's king. But the Romans are allergic to the term king, so instead of saying that, he uses an actual office, dictator. That's from 49 BC, and a year later, he'll actually defeat Pompey in a battle. Pompey got out of town quick when Caesar's army was coming. He'll defeat Pompey, and he's dictator for the next 5 years. I guess it was fun for him to be dictator, but the aristocrats didn't like it very much. They want their power back. So what do? They kill him in 44 BC. And what you're reading, or you guys read about it. So they assassinate him in 44 BC on the Ides of March, which is to say March 15th. Okay, we're just about done. The only thing left to talk about is what happened after 44 BC, in this period between 44 and 31. Well, guess what? The world is thrust back into civil war. The world is thrust back into civil war, and you then have two factions. Faction number one are the Republicans, and faction number two are the Caesarians. The Republicans, as you know, are Brutus and Cassius. I mean, they're the two main leaders. They're the two main generals. And in fact, the Republicans include hundreds of senators. And the Caesarians are originally what we call, I don't need quotation marks, this is a real thing, the second triumvirate. The second triumvirate, and that is Mark Antony, Octavian, and this fellow named Lepidus. Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus. Well, Lepidus is not nearly as important or powerful as Antony. Antony was Caesar's most trusted advisor in general. And in fact, during the dictatorship, there's an office called Master of the Horse, which is assistant dictator. Antony had been the assistant dictator, and again, one of his most trusted generals. And Octavian is his nephew. And you find out when Caesar's will is read, he's also his adopted, Octavian is adopted by Caesar, and he becomes his main heir. So he's now the richest man in the world, Octavian. And also, his name is now Gaius Julius Caesar, which is a pretty good name to have. So they get rid of Lepidus real quick. They send him into... They don't actually kill him. They send him out to retirement, and he agrees. And so the world then is divided between Republicans and Caesarians. And that's after 44 BC when Caesar is assassinated. The second triumvirate consists of Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus. Lepidus is sent to retirement. A year later, in the Battle of Philippi, oh, I'll spell it wrong. 2 L's and 1 P? Or 1 L and 2 P's? A year later, in 43 BC, the Battle of Philippi, the Republicans are defeated, and these two guys are now in control of the entire world. And that alliance is going to last for a few more years until there's all-out war between them. I don't want to tell you who wins. The guy who becomes the first emperor of Rome wins, as you know. And he'll later be named Caesar Augustus. Okay? So all that happened after Caesar was assassinated in 44 on the Ides of March.